What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Early Morning Setup, a card show podcast. And I made a joke off camera about this. I'm going to make it again. This is our third Joe here on the podcast, but I'll let him introduce himself formally. But I'm very, very excited to be talking about a ton of different things regarding not only the hobby, but of course card shows as well. Father-son combo. Son's not here, but kind of what you guys do kind of makes me think what my dad and I could have done. But before we go any further into it, Joe, please introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And good morning.
Good morning. I'm Joe Perillo, Cotswolds, Rhode Island. My son is another Joe.
Wow. So could have been four Joes.
Been four Joes.
I'll get him separately.
Basically, we're a father-son duo that got into the hobby from collecting. We went to Cooperstown about a year ago today. And conveniently, Murph's wearing a Cooperstown shirt.
No rhyme or reason why I wore this shirt. I promise you. There was maybe a reason why I wore the hat, but that was about it.
And so we went there just to experience Cooperstown, the home of baseball. So we went, card shops galore everywhere. We had an amazing time. Mm-hmm. Check it out if you guys ever have the time to get out there. It's definitely an eye-opener, and it's a quaint little town that's pretty amazing. The Baseball Hall of Fame is incredible. But while we were there, we started collecting, and there's different reasons why we were collecting what we were collecting there. My father-in-law is a Tony C fan. My mother-in-law is a Tony C fan. And so we were out to get a present for them. And we actually got like a inscribed bat for them and everything else. And we got a bunch of Tony C cards for them. And we actually made this big, nice presentation for them.
That's pretty cool.
While we were there, we were getting a bunch of deals. We had fun picking through and just like going through nonstop. And I started collecting the 2004 team.
The Red Sox?
Yeah, the Red Sox. And I had a blast looking for them. My son, huge Ortiz fan. He was just, where's Big Poppy? I got to find the cards, So it was fun scrambling around looking for everything we could. And from that, when we got home, it kind of bit us.
Oh.
We got bit by the collecting bug.
Oh, the good bug.
The good bug. We were like, all right, let's find out what card shops are around us. Mm-hmm. So we started, going to different card shops and like still buying and finding this, finding that, and we stumbled upon your shop.
Murph's Card Town.
And, a great friendship sparked here. And honestly, it's thanks to Murph that Card Source kind of became a reality because he helped us get started.
That's very humbling and very wonderful kind of story, because it's good to hear people get into the hobby for the right reasons. Like, you were at Cooperstown, you're on a trip, you were digging through some boxes, and probably not once were you kind of thinking about what can I sell this for? Oh, how much money is here and all that. No, you're just in the moment having fun. And I think that's so important for people. And then obviously, as time gone on, you've developed and evolved into much, much more, which we will get into in a little bit later. But before that trip to Cooperstown, obviously you're older. Were you a collector back in the 90s as well? Or did this just kind of start with your son recently?
So, yes, it just started with my son recently.
I think that's a better story than like, I collected in the 90s and then I stopped. You hear that all the time.
Well, I don't want to bring this podcast down a level, but like, I didn't really grow up like fortunate enough to like be able to collect cards, stuff like that. That wasn't like top priority. So I never really had that option or that excitement when that stuff happened. So, we'll bring this back on a higher level. To experiences with my son was getting me into the collecting hobby, which was incredible because I get to kind of almost relive a childhood moment and spend it with my son, which was just incredible to do.
And I can't wait to do it with mine. I mean, he's 6 months old. We're actually gonna go to Cooperstown ourselves in July for 4th of July, and the shops there are incredible. And, even though I can get all the packs I want, but I want to go to the stores with him, get some packs, open it. He's going to have no idea. But it's just it's the memory, it's the moment, and it's the fun that you're creating with your kids.
Right.
And I think that's super, super important, especially for, us as fathers and then them as kids, as sons. It's so much bigger and more important when you're doing it with, your son. Right?
Right.
If you were one that did it back in the 90s, it's kind of just like rehashing old memories, so to speak, or old things, but where it's like you didn't, but now you are. It's like you both are experiencing this for the first time together,
Right.
and you both are growing as collectors and as vendors, which we will get into, guys. Don't worry, we will. Together, which I think is the beauty of it all, because I've been doing the shop for 4 years by myself, but if my dad was around, I feel like he'd be with me too. So we'd be doing this together. But,
Absolutely.
it's just the beauty of kind of what, I don't want to just say sports cards, but hobbies in general can kind of do for people, bring people together. It generates friendships. I mean, I have so many friends from the hobby that, if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know other people that I've interviewed here on the podcast or whoever. So it's just like so much can come from it. And again, we haven't even talked about dollars and cents yet, which so many people are so infatuated with. So again, there's so much beauty behind it. And I think people kind of forget about it in a way. So a little bit of background, kind of to the side. We always have to go through it though, because we need to know who you are before we get into the whole card show thing and such like that. But Card Source RI, talk to me about the name first. So I like the name.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The logo's awesome. I'll kind of show you. Nice little cool logo right there. So why the name? And first of all, how'd you guys start? You come back from Cooperstown, and then you're like, hey, we should maybe set up at shows. You go to a couple shops first. But kind of talk to me about the development.
We had no idea what we were doing. Just gonna put that out
Honest
there.
answer.
Zero idea what we were doing.
I love it.
Value wise, had no idea. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we didn't do this for the dollars and cents. Mm-hmm. We did it as something to do together.
Yep.
Fishing. You know what I'm saying? Cool. We go fishing. We go camping. Whatever the case may be, right? Father and son things. This was something that was kind of different that we could build and grow as a kind of like a side hustle, if per se. The name, it almost just came to us at one point. We were doing something and we were like typing names in like a generator and this, that, whatever. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I just kind of jotted it down on a napkin like you see in all the movies. Like, keep this napkin to the side and like we'll do something with it later.
Yep.
And it was Card Source RI. And then I wasn't sure how I wanted to configure it. Was it Rhode Island Card Source? Because people still say that. Like when they look at the logo, they're like, oh, Rhode Island Card Source, because the way it's
like on the hat.
Initiated on the hat.
Yeah.
So I actually did it on the napkin. I drew the logo. I did everything. And I was like, home base. Like we are multi-sport, but we do primarily like baseball.
Yeah. That's what you guys like.
We like, yeah. Primarily we like baseball.
That's the importance of it. Yeah.
My in-laws, huge Red Sox, diehard Red Sox fans. So that's our collection that we collect. Mm-hmm. But as far as Card Source goes, we will buy and sell anything. There's nothing, I don't think, in the hobby that we won't try to sell.
Okay.
But Card Source as I hate calling it a business because it's so much more than that.
Brand, identity.
Yeah, I would like to call it a brand at this point because it can go so much further. The marketing wise, the Instagram, the Facebook, the
social media in general.
Just social media in general it's hard to keep up with. I have I'd like to call it a 9 to 5, but it's an 11 to 7 because I'm unfortunately on third shift.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle management level, so it's kind of hard to keep up with the magnitude of what this hobby actually is.
Mm-hmm. What it needs,
but we try
too.
What it needs, yeah. I mean,
social media wise,
and so we're not as prominent on social media as we probably could be.
I mean, that can always change though, because social
100%.
media is completely free, and that's why I love to use it, because I'm not going to blast emails to people. I don't think that's the right way to do business. Sure, it might catch a couple sales here and there, but cost to actually what you're making, I think it's pointless. Where social media is free. People want to follow me, they're going to follow me. People going to follow you, they'll follow you. And this is kind of where I wish I had a team around me. Like, hey, you can be the social media. Hey, you could be the video editing. You can do that. You can do that, whatever. But I mean, social media, it does take a lot of time because, yeah, you can take a quick picture and post in a minute. But, like, how much effort are you putting into it? How, like, pizzazzy are you making the post? How attractive are you making the post? Because there's so much that goes into it. People want reels. They love the videos, the 10-second videos where they can just scroll and scroll and scroll. So it's definitely, I don't want to say a learning curve, but there's definitely a lot to kind of to chew there because, like, all right, I'm in between shows right now. What should I be posting? Should I be posting inventory? Should I be posting boxes? Like, there's so much that goes into it. So I totally get it. And there's no right way to do it, at least from my experience. There's a few wrong ways, of course. I say that all the time. It's just, I don't know. I think any content's better than no content. It could just be, hey, we just picked up a new box. Let's just say you were to buy a ton of stuff here today. Hey, look what I just got at Murph's Cartown. Boom. And that's a post right there. Hey, this is where I got from, Mikey the Big Show. Boom. And then just so on and just kind of spirals from there. But no, social media I think is super duper important. Now, talk to me about how you guys have kind of went from the idea, be like, all right, let's actually put this idea in practice. So what was it? I know you kind of mentioned how, me and the shop kind of helped you guys get up and running a little bit. Talk to me about like that early process of like sourcing cards yourself and trying to establish a baseline of inventory for that first show.
So like I said, and I'm honest, guys, I had no clue what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So when we originally bought what we had bought from Murph, from you, we went home and took literally a week sorting.
Yeah.
By team, and now this was like, we did Pokemon, we did every sport you could imagine. And we just sorted everything into teams, and then we were like, should we do it by player? Should we do it by rookie? And, we sleeving the rookies. Are we doing this? Are we doing that? So here comes the Amazon cart, right? So now I got mags, I got,
supplies,
penny sleeves, and all the supplies to do this. And, here goes the dollars adding up very, very quickly. And we're like, okay, are we in over our head?
Yeah.
And
so
then,
there was some doubt early on.
Oh, super doubt.
Really?
But someone once told me, without a risk, there's going to be no reward because you miss every shot that you don't take.
Yeah, wise words.
And I've never been one to, I've always lived like on the, I don't want to take that shot. I don't want to take that gamble. I worked so hard for this money.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It.
And we took the gamble with this. And honestly, if anybody is starting out in this, have something besides money that's motivating this.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
There was so much other motivation. There was reliving a childhood memory for me. There was the time with my son. There was, this is the next player. You got to have your heart into it more than just your pocket, because it'll run you dry.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the biggest thing, besides the support of my wife on how I opened Murph's Cartown was 40 years from now, I'd rather look back and said I tried and I failed than not try at all.
Right.
And I can live with myself if I tried the shop and it just didn't work out. I lost a ton of money and I failed. Obviously, I'll have some regrets and second decisions. Well, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to cut this out. I can't think of the damn word. Not second chances. Whatever. And to think that I was in a position to try and that I didn't try, I think would just eat me up way much more. Again,
you'd regret it.
Exactly. The regret would be just too much for me to like, and then I'd be thinking about it, when I'm 60 and I'd be like, I could still do it. But then I'm 60 and I'm like, I don't have that motivation anymore because I'll have kids, grandkids, and it's just, things will get really out of control later in life. But no, I always applaud people for taking that jump. And, regardless, whatever small business it is, because it is so hard and it is so challenging. But no, to have doubt, to have fear, to have nerves, to obviously spend a lot of money and see no return right away, it is daunting at the very least. And to see you guys, I know you mentioned off camera, you're almost a year in now, which I think is absolutely crazy. And we'll definitely get into, kind of the journey and where you see yourselves going. But talk to me about the first show. So, like, I know you mentioned off camera, it was a disaster. It was a mess. But talk to me about, the ideas that you had for setting it up. Talk to me about the plans. All right, we're into, I'm just going to use a dumb number here. We're into everything for like $1,000. Let's just try to make $300 today. was there any plans like that? Just kind of hit me with what you were thinking.
So it's kind of funny. So we went to we were going to card shows because this is the first card show we ever went to go like scope one out and go buy it.
Which one was this?
So it was the one on Plainfield Pike.
Oh yeah, the Kelly Zara. Yep.
Kelly Gazzaro Post. And we're walking around. We probably did 15, 20 laps around this place. And we ended up meeting Mike Biggs.
Yep.
And so super nice guy.
I love Mikey.
Oh, he's amazing.
I love him.
And we literally got the chance to sit down and chat with him for a few minutes in between him buying and selling and all this other stuff. And he mentioned to us that he was going to be doing his first show. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right. I was like, how much are the tables? And he told me. And I'm like, all right, when do you need the money by? And he goes, oh, you're a vendor? And I'm like, not yet, but I want to be.
I'd like to be, yeah.
And so we started the conversation. We hooked up on social media and everything else. And coming to the first show, super nervous.
I bet.
Anxiety through the roof. Do I have enough?
If it makes you feel any better, the first show I set up at, I was also nervous. It's just you just need one sale to break the ice, and then you're golden. So I totally get it.
So me and the fam, the wife, the kids, my son's 13, my daughter's going to be 7, and my wife. Here we are. Got a folding table set up in our basement, cards everywhere, sorting. We got to make sure we're perfect for the show.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist.
we get there. We're early, right? Mike lets us in. We start setting up. I did a mock setup in our basement on the folding table.
Looked good.
It looked great, right?
Yeah.
We get there. I set up. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow.
This sucks.
I got one table, and it's super congested, and I look like Joe the Junk Man, right? It was funny. Cause
Junk Source RI.
Pretty much, that's what it felt like. And, everyone's like, oh, my God, the setup looks amazing. Like, I had, milk crates with, a shelf over it, and I had the Funko Pops with the card.
I remember that idea, yeah.
Right? And it somewhat worked as an idea, right? But it was just too much. Mm-hmm. Complete disaster. And when I say complete disaster, it was good for the experience, disaster for making any kind of money. And when I say that, it's because I paid what I paid for the table. When I calculated the money at the end, I made $10.
So how was that moment when you counted out? And of course, you're mentally keeping track throughout the show as well.
Of course.
But when the show's done, how are you able to justify the loss? Because again, you're into it for all this money, however much you're into it for, and then it's just like we have $10 to show for it.
Yep.
Do you want to go get a slushie or something, bud? How do you?
Can't both get one now.
No, hey, really, you can't get a coffee. I was gonna say coffee, but how do you justify that and be like, okay, this is a learning lesson. Let's focus on that, and how do we become better?
Devastated. The only word I can describe was devastated.
Gotcha.
So the only way I can describe how the feeling was pure devastation. We had $10 from the show, after paying back the table fee, right? Mm-hmm. Everything else. And we're like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And then we started looking around. And I looked at what did everyone else do that I didn't?
Yep.
Why does everyone else keep doing these shows? Because I noticed a lot of the same vendors from the Plainfield Pike show at the Kelly Gazzaro were at Mikey's show, right? So I'm like, they got to be doing something, right?
What's the formula?
Is it?
What's the Krabby Patty formula?
Exactly. So I was like, I had taken pictures. Mm-hmm. I have a thing where I take pictures of my setup on every show I go to, so this way I can look back and see if there's something I can improve on.
Oh, I kind of do that.
So I looked around and I was like, you know what? No one else around here looks like Junk Sauce RI, right? So I'm like, okay, so we have bargain bins and this, that, whatever. And, bargain bins are great.
Yep.
They're a great starter tool.
Yep.
Everyone had single cards. Easily viewed. Easily able to pick up.
Oh, like the case cards?
Yeah, they literally, you could just grab them, pick them up, look at the card.
Yeah.
You didn't have to flip through.
So you got to be careful about that, though, because that's just inviting, theft.
Right.
So, but obviously, I know you mentioned, before, you've eventually gotten the cases, which is obviously the best thing.
So we went to cases. So I noticed that the people that were selling a lot, that people that had a lot of attraction around them had cases. So I'm like, all right, cool. That's where we have to head to. So I went on Amazon. I found a couple that I liked.
Bigger investment.
Bigger investment. So now here goes more money.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
You gotta take the chance.
Yeah.
Because then, here we go to the second show, which I believe was in Raynham.
Mike. Well, different Mike. Mike
Different
McDermott's.
Mike,
yeah.
Mike McDermott's show. And a buddy of mine came.
It's like where I used to live. That show. It's like
yeah?
it's on 44, right?
Yeah, it's like you go past like the Raynham Flea.
Yep.
And,
I used to live like behind the Walmart that's over there.
And I had met Mike number 2, I'll call him, McDermott, at the Cranston card show that's in Warwick.
Yes.
And the Cranston card show that's in Warwick. So we ended up talking again. Huge conversation. He reached out to me, asked me if I want to set up at a show. Sure thing.
Hell yeah.
Took the investment, paid him for the table, went out there, got one table. Went out there, did so much better.
Now, what was the key contributor? If you had to pin it to one thing, was it the showcases and putting $5, $10 cards in there, or obviously more expensive cards, or was it just hitting the reset button, blank slate? All right, let's try to do this a little bit better in terms of like setting things up.
It was the reset on the setup, 100%.
So what did you do different then? Instead of just vomit value boxes, like
that's what I did. So I literally took some choice cards and I started maybe investing a little more in like what people were looking for.
Yeah.
Because when you're selling, people come in, hey, do you have any of this? Do you have any of that? Do you have any of this?
All the time.
So you just kind of follow the trend and you look like, you go on, you look at what people are buying. I used eBay a lot to just kind of do some research, like what is selling right now? Football cards, blah, blah, blah. And look at what has sold in the recent couple months and what they're selling for.
Absolutely.
Also, staying current with like, a couple different places. Like there was like YouTube channels I was following that were like
Murph's Cardtown.
Murph's Cardtown. And just giving you kind of the recent updates on what cards are hot, what cards are kind of falling off. Obviously it's a risky business because a player gets hurt, their card value could plummet out. Depending on the injury or whatever it may be.
Cards go down faster than they go up.
I tell everybody this Pokemon, they don't get hurt. You know what I mean? So their value stays as long as they're worth.
No crime charge,
right?
No sexual assault, no GTA. Clean slates,
right?
Clean records.
So, I liked the sports. I like following the players, everything else. But getting back to the card show thing, I started following. I started investing more in like the players that people were looking for. Really wanted to go graded because I feel like that's what people are really looking for. The market was kind of crazy, so I'm like, you know what? Let me just get some stuff for now. Sorted through more cards. Murph's Cardtown. Back at Murph's Cardtown. Buying more cards. I think you saw us probably once a week for months.
I was going to say for a good while, yeah.
And I was just buying cards, from your bargain bin or, maybe from your case here and there, depending on what they were.
And there's value. I'm not just going to toot my own horn here, but there's value in other people's value bins. Like I've heard people find $60 card in the dollar bin. And it's not just me, it's other places too. So taking the time is extremely important and it can be rewarding. I mean, you find a card for $1, $5, and you can make 40, 50, 60 off of it because I or someone else didn't want to go back in fishing and try to find that that flavor of the month. And so it's time consuming, but it can be very rewarding, especially when you look at the profit margins on that kind of a sale.
Right, and I mean that's the other thing too. Like so, you had mentioned buying a card for $1, maybe getting 50 or 60 out of it. Good, think about it. If you buy a card for $1 and you make 5, that's 5 times what you paid for it.
You do that 10 times. There you go.
Just because it's a small dollar amount that you got the percentage that you made on it is just astronomical.
Yeah,
you made 5 times what you paid.
Yep,
that's incredible.
Yep,
and that happens all the time. But that's where the kind of research and time comes into place. So going to that show, we set up and we had the cases. So I set up 2 cases or whatever. Now I expanded to 4. But I had the 2 cases. We had some loose cards here or there. I did have a value bin behind me in case like people wanted to go through it. Still did the Pokemon boxes or whatever the case may be. Ended up making like 75 that day after the table cost.
There we go.
So here we go. Now we're at
Growth.
Yep. So me and my son had a little meeting on the way home, and we're in the truck and we're driving, and I'm like, this is what we made. And I said, we did it.
Yeah.
And he goes, what do you mean we did it? He goes, that's not a ton of money. I'm like, you're right. It's not a ton of money, but it's more than we made last time.
You have something much more to show for.
I said, and that money is going to buy us more cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to go and go get lunch on the way home for this, whatever, with this money. Obviously, we stopped and got something to eat on the way home, but like we're not using Card Source's money now to do this. We're going to use Card Source's money to flip into more Card Source materials, stock, profit, whatever the case may be, materials, whatever it may be. So we ended up using part of it, and we bought 2 more cases.
Dang.
So we're going to fast forward a little bit to the next show. Now we went to Mikey Big's show, the very last one he did, and I bought 2 tables.
Yeah, I remember you had a big footprint that time.
Yeah, 2 tables, 4 cases, and in between each case we had loose cards. The one thing I will say is you got to be like a hawk. Because people will swipe a card faster than you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had a buddy of mine with me and my son. We spanned 16 feet of table, obviously, and we're just like scanning back and forth.
You have to.
And, helping this one, helping that one. Now, my son would call up to me. He'd be like, hey, do you have any of this? Blah, blah, blah. Where do we put that? Where do we put this? So, like, I'm moving back
All
and
over
forth
the place.
nonstop. My buddy's on one end, my son's on the other end, and then my wife and my daughter comes, and now they're behind the table with us, and it worked out.
They got a whole team.
The whole team was there.
I like that.
And I gotta say, I want to, shout out my wife, my daughter, and my son, because without them, I wouldn't be able to make this happen.
Absolutely.
They are my support team. They are my cheerleaders. They are my roster.
Everything.
They have truly embraced this and promote it wherever they can, which is amazing.
I can say the same thing about my wife. And I, for some reason, like, I don't know, a week ago maybe, I was just thinking to myself laying in bed, I'm like, how did I get to the decision of actually wanting to do this? Like, what made me say, I'm going to open a car shop? And of course you think about it and all that. And my wife was like, oh, well, you told me that you wanted to. And I said, go for it. I'm like, was it that easy? Like you didn't have any concerns or anything? She's like, no. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's just simple support from the closest people to you. It just goes so far. Because if my wife said no, if your wife said no, probably not doing this.
Probably not.
And it's just like everyone could say no, don't do it, and they're the ones that say yes, do it, and we're probably still doing it. Like, I mean, I remember telling like my friends when I first, even when I was still getting my master's degree, like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather open a card shop. They're like, what, really? Why? Like, those are still a thing? I'm like, well, yeah, they kind of still are. They've never went away. So it's just the support from significant others, wives, whoever, family members is just so, so important and so crucial. And it can't be taken for granted. And obviously, we're in fortunate positions to be able to have wives to kind of rely on and such like that. But like for those that don't, I mean, just whoever's your closest friend, whoever's, your boyfriend, girlfriend at the time, whatever, even if your parents, your mom, your dad, even just talking to them about it. Because, there's a lot of younger people in this space, talk to them about it. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have the conversation and to try. Again, circling back, let's just try this out. You fail, then you get back on your feet, and next thing you know, you're making $75.
Yep.
Boom, there you go. But yeah, card shows are very, very challenging in a lot of different ways. But sourcing cards, I'm going to use the term because I think it's just very fitting for today's episode. Is sourcing cards for you as a vendor challenging? Well, A, challenging in general, and B, is it easier or harder to find them at shows as a vendor? Like, are you able to walk around to the table down in the corner, grab some stuff, and then go bring it to your table to sell it? Like, is card shows the best place to find stuff for you?
For a vendor, I would say probably not. And, well, I could say you could flip a coin on that.
Okay.
Because it really depends. It depends on the price margin that person has on the card. because you got to remember, as a vendor now, you're buying to resell.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these people want to sell it for someone that's going to collect. And you know, a lot, and that's. I want to go back real quick just to the support factor.
Yeah.
This whole community of the card community, the whatever community you want to call this, is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I've had support from you. I've had support from both Mikes, McDermott and Biggs.
Mike 1, Mike 2.
Mike 1 and Mike 2. You know, and I've met a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, other vendors and stuff like that I still contact, and we still text message back and forth or you know, Facebook message back and forth all the time. You know, people know that I'm a huge Red Sox fan. They'll reach out to me, hey, I got this card. The problem with sourcing cards, and this is a big point of contention for, I believe, a lot of people, is how many different variations of cards there are, and how one can be worth $1 and the next one that's the same exact card but a different variation can be worth $700.
Blows my mind even to this day. I just don't understand it.
I don't understand. I mean, I understand why card companies did it,
Yeah.
but I just don't understand why
Yeah.
it's going to this magnitude. I guess it would be a good word.
And that's why, on top of like you trying to find cards and get cards that people want, I think for me, I'm going to interpret it this way, not just cards, but players. You were more so looking for players that people want. And I do the exact same thing. But months ago, I told myself this. I'm going to switch my gear and focus onto cool cards. If it's a case hit of a local guy, even though they're not on the team anymore, it's still something. If it's a nice insert of that quarterback for that year and it's affordable, that works for me, because there's no point. I mean, you've seen them at shows. You might even have a couple cards yourself laying around that just are too expensive for people, or it's just not the right card with the right price for the right person. Right. I mean, I got a rookie Lamar flawless Ruby, you know, in the case for like $700. It's like out of 25. Like, I mean, the dude almost just won his third MVP. You know, he's in a dynamite quarterback. Everybody's always looking for Lamar because he's just generational. They don't want to spend $700.
Right.
Okay, but so how much do you want to spend? You want the $700 card, but for $7. So where at least my mindset is, where can I meet you in the middle? Is the price point $7? Because fine, $7 cards all damn day. Or is it $70? But now if I have a $70 card, the chances of that being volatile is now through the roof. Now one day it's 50, the next day it's 100. So there's just so many layers to it in terms of sourcing cards. And so that's why I like cool cards. That's it.
Exactly.
Cool cards of good players.
So
that's my focus.
I too focus the same, you know, because I believe I use this term to you a bunch of times. You're like, oh, you really like those, you know, the shimmery cards and all this other stuff, and you know, it might not be the best player.
Yeah.
But I kind of use those as like almost like bait. You know, ooh, shiny. You know what I'm saying? Then people
like
are
in
gonna
your
come
showcase.
Look. Yeah, in the showcase.
Oh,
it might not be the best person.
Yeah.
But it's gonna attract somebody.
Yeah.
And then you know what? They might see someone that they were like, oh, I wasn't looking for that.
We're all guilty of being attracted to cool cards.
Of course.
Absolutely. And high price tags, I've noticed too. Like you could have a card in your case that you know you won't sell for $2,000 and have everything else like $100 around it.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna look at the $2,000 card and then look at everything else. So
but
it's a psychological game.
100%.
Yeah.
And also with that is, you know, I always try to have a bargain bin with me, and there's a reason for that. It's not necessarily the affordability of the card for somebody. I said it's more of the reasoning that we got into this to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Me and my son, card shows. I see people come around all the time. Their kids are with them, right? Maybe they don't have the money to spend on a $100 card or even a $10 card.
Absolutely.
Because it's at the end of the day, everybody, what is a card?
Yeah, cardboard.
It's a piece of cardboard.
Some of it's shiny.
Right? Some of it's shiny,
but
right?
At its core, it's just
with a little bit of plastic around it if you're protecting them, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so like at the end of the day, if that thing falls in a puddle,
see
it's
you later.
done.
Yep.
Right? Kids, do they take the best care of things? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Right? My bargain bins, I will 110% give a kid 10 free cards.
Oh.
A free card, 2 free cards.
Something.
To get them into this hobby, to know that it's not all about the money that you're spending. Like, yes, spend money, please.
Hey, listen, I hear you.
Right? But that's why in the beginning of this podcast, I said you have to do it for more than money.
I agree.
Because money isn't the root of everything. This world has gone to a place where money seems to rule all, right? Like, we all need to make money. We need to pay our bills, yes.
Yep.
But that kid that comes to that card show is going to remember that he got 2 or 3 cards of his favorite player at the time. You know what I mean? Do something for somebody.
I mean, how much...
How much would it really cost me?
Because, like, at the end of the day, value bins for us, we're into them for an affordable price, typically. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten into them. So it's like handing out $1 or a card or 2 or 3. How much is that really impacting you? Like, if you're really that much of a flipper and you really want to do all the numbers and stuff, feel free to do the math yourself, because I'm sure as hell not.
Yeah.
But, like, the smile on that kid's face, the memory he's going to walk out the door with is more important than the 13 cents that you're losing on the 3 cards you gave up. It's just not even worth it. And like honestly, maybe the dad or the parent or whoever be like, card source, okay, yeah, they're good people.
Yeah.
And then next time, they come around like, oh, you gave my son free cards. Hey, let's buy something off of you this time. And it's just the little things in life. I always tell people this. It's like, it's not that hard to be a good person, but society has made it seem like it's rocket science. Hey, how's it going? What do you like to collect? Can I help you find something? If you need to see something, let me know. It's just not that hard to have a conversation with somebody. And in the worst case, they just leave. Okay.
Right.
Best case, you make a sale.
Right.
And I think that should be pretty easy to kind of figure out, especially for people that are new and getting into this space. And any hobby, any business for that matter. Like, you can't just sit on your hands and just hope money comes pouring in. Money always comes and goes, but like, you got to put effort into it. You actually have to try and such like that. So I agree with you. I think the kids, they may not need handouts, but they certainly love them. And I think that sticks with them for a very long time.
It does. And it's going to get them into, hopefully, to keep this business thriving. Because let's say it, when we're gone,
see them.
That's our next generation. Those are the ones that are going to carry what we love doing right now to the next level. I mean, your kid, when they grow up, they're going to hopefully take over this. You know what I mean? Mine, hopefully this grows to a business that he can have a turnkey when he graduates. That was kind of, once Card Source actually kind of took off a little bit, that was the conversation we had between him and his sister. If they want to do this,
it's theirs.
Do it. If you want to sell it all, sell it.
Bye.
It is what it is. This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
This is not supposed to stress us out. This is not supposed to be... would it be great if I could retire off this? Absolutely.
I'll die here, honestly. I don't need to retire.
Right.
Nah.
I mean, when I say retire, I mean not work my 9 to 5 and, you know what I'm saying, do cards all the time. That'd be great.
Yeah. I told my wife that this was before we had our son, is like, if anything was to happen to me and I have the shop, I know you know that I love it, but I know you could care less about it.
Yeah.
Keep 1 or 2 things that you think I would absolutely love. Get rid of everything else.
Right.
Keep that, 1 or 2 things just as a memory, as a keepsake. Everything else can go, because I know you don't care about it and you don't need the headache. So just get rid of it. But while I'm around, obviously it'll stay, because it's, what I do, I guess. But changing gears here. What about card shows? Completely changing gears. What about card shows make you excited? Like, is it the early morning wake up and the drives to the show? Is it the setting up factor? Is it the making deals part? The money?
None of the above.
Interesting.
It is the networking with other people.
Really?
I love meeting people.
Wow.
I do. I mean, from the vendors that are on the side of me, because who knows who's going to be on the side of me on the next show? I could have the exact same person from the show previous.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
Who knows, right? The customers. I met at the last show I was at, I believe it was a husband and wife that said that this was what they were getting into.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I was, unfortunately we never hooked up and made contact with each other, but they were like, looking to really get in some bargain bin stuff. I believe I introduced you to them when we were at the show. They were
the guy next to you?
Yeah, the husband and wife. They came up. They were actually buying from me, and
you
came up, and I
gave them my card. I've never heard of them since.
Me either.
Nope.
But it's the networking.
Gotta try though. I mean, business cards cost 8 cents or whatever, so you gotta try.
Right. So whether you make a deal with them or not, whatever the case may be, the networking.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never been able to keep going in this if it wasn't for the networking.
Yeah.
It's
a very different answer. I don't mean to interrupt you, because everyone always says like, oh, I like to meet, I like the customers or the vendors or the money or the deals. networking. That's a new one. I like that one.
Yeah, because put it this way, without you, without Mike Biggs, Mike McDermott, without all these people that I've met, Card Sauce wouldn't be here anymore.
You think so?
Because I wouldn't have had that. How do I say this? I wouldn't have had that backing of the community already.
Yeah.
To keep it going, because it's like, they come around, hey, how you doing today? How's you making out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm doing good.
It's like they care.
They do.
Yeah, and you don't get that from everybody.
No, and that was a big nervousness I had inside because, I don't want my son to ever think like, well, that dude was a jerk. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that to be a thing. You know what I mean? And he said it himself at 13 years old. Wow, all these people we've met from doing this are really nice.
Yeah. 97% of the people in this hobby are good, great, supportive people. It's the 3% that are negative and that are bad people, and they're the ones that are always on the headlines and always on social media, whether it's scamming, stealing, whatever it may be. And unfortunately, the good people in the hobby don't get recognized nearly as much as they should be.
And I will say, like in the circle, I'll say our little circle of people that that we kind of talk with amongst each other. Are amazing people.
Yeah.
They really are. The vendors that are at the shows that I go to that I set up at, they're normally the same people. Hey man, you need anything over there?
Yeah.
Hey, can I help you set up? I'm already done setting up. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what this is all about.
And it allows you, which a lot of people don't think of this, but is super important. And where you have your son with you, so it's a little bit different. Where it's like, it almost builds a level of trust. So like, hey, can you watch my stuff while I go to the bathroom real quick?
Right.
People completely forget about that. Shows are 6, 7, 8, sometimes more, hours. And you're going to have to go to the bathroom. You're going to have to go get food. And obviously if you have someone, I have my brother, you have your son, so it's a little bit different. But for other people who have been stuck, try networking, like you said, because that's what you look forward to. Hey man, can you watch my stuff for 5 minutes? I just got to go to the bathroom real quick. And it's just, again, conversating, networking, relationship building. Like,
exactly.
I'm glad that we're talking about this because, of course, I've touched upon it in other episodes too, but it's like a strong focal point, I feel like, in this episode, which is super important because there's so many different elements to the hobby, to the shows, to business and all that. But it's, tear all that stuff away and networking, people, customers, partners, support, whatever it may be, is deep in that fabrication. But I mean, through all this positivity that we're talking about, I do want to kind of change it, not to a negative, but I kind of want you to highlight a negative if you could. What's one thing you could change about a card show if you could? It could be the show, it could be the vendors, it could be the attendees. What is one thing? And try not to say nothing.
No.
And be as honest as possible. No one will get their feelings hurt.
Nothing's perfect. So there's definitely got to be something that can change. I would say honestly, space, availability at like larger shows for smaller vendors, stuff like that. It's really tough because I've had great support from these shows, and I know there is the word nothing is a term we don't want to use right now, but I would say basically if we had to change something about the shows that we do, I would have to say maybe how often we have them.
In terms of they're too often, or in terms they're not often enough?
Not often enough, like in different locations.
Interesting.
And they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But I think that
there's a time like a year or two ago, you could probably find a show anywhere in at least this area within 30 minutes away any given weekend.
But I mean, I bet you if I asked you, okay, who runs shows? You could give me a list of everybody that runs a show, and there's probably 40 vendors on the average to the shows that we go to, and not all 40 of them do a show.
Yeah.
That would bring in different crowds. You know what I mean? That would bring in different people, venues.
Would you fear, though, that it would be watered down? Because that was a fear for people. That's like, oh, if I don't hit this show, I'll just go to the next one. Oh, they're every time. And then there's money that becomes a factor.
I would say it's always a possibility. It's always a possibility.
Like, yeah, I mean, card shows are still so often that it's like, hey, what do we want to do this weekend? Oh, let's go to a card show. And it's great for people, so many people to just be able to get out and experience a card show. And which is something like 10 years ago was like once a month, maybe once every like 2 months. But now it's like every weekend you can find something, and that gives you, me, other people opportunity to source cards, to network, to make connections, to vend and make money. So it's good that there's a lot of card shows because it gives people a lot of options and choices. But for me, I do fear about the whole watered down factor, which isn't a bad thing, but like there's some weekends where there's like 3 or 4 shows, whether it's in Rhode Island or Massachusetts, like together, where it's like, all right, there's going to be one in, I know there's one in like Westerly, there's going to be one in like North Smithfield, Tiverton, and then Woburn. So It's like, where do I go? Like, obviously wherever is closer to you or wherever you're set up that day. But like, I feel like it could be a hindrance on people. So I guess to answer my own question, that would, which I didn't mean to, but that would be mine.
Gotcha.
In your early career, what's your best show story that you could share? It could be from a deal, a transaction, a huge profit that you made. It could be a colossal disaster and loss, or it could be something super simple about, experiences with your son. What's your best show story right now that you could share?
Wow.
Deep, huh?
Yeah. It's I mean, I've had so many experiences at these shows, and it's like, it's going and visiting a show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you get the excitement of like, wow, this is what this is all about, to setting up at a show. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's probably the crazy experience I ever had was the first show. Mm-hmm. I touched on it earlier, how much like I didn't know what I was doing. My son didn't know what he was doing. We were all over the place. It's tough to do something when you don't know. Right. We literally went to one card show and then set up at one. So
do you think you'd rather have gone to more shows?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. I don't regret it.
Yeah.
Because we took a shot, we took a chance.
In a good spot now.
Yeah. But that I would say that experience, unfortunately, it's not a positive one. It was kind of a negative one for us, but
it's a life lesson.
But it's a life lesson, right?
Yeah. And like, I'm trying to think like how I could. I mean, you look back at so many experiences, whether it's business related or even life related, and it's like, all right, well, I'm here today in this moment, and not to get philosophical or anything like that, but like, of course, there's been bad things that happen to everybody, but it's like, all right, I'm here right now, and at least in you, I got 2 young, beautiful, healthy kids. I got an amazing wife. I got a good job, and I'm having fun with my life.
Right.
Would I change any of that? Answer is no.
No.
So it's like, you can still spin negatives into a positive.
Of course.
And it's like, for me, I got, a beautiful 6-month-old baby. I got an amazing wife. I'm, basically working a hobby as a job. I mean, so many people say like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. And it's like, it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah,
but
it's
like,
not easy at all.
But like, I'd rather be doing this than working a 9 to 5, kind of like what we've been joking about. So it's like, yeah, I'm making way less money doing this than what I could have been doing as a counselor. But it's like, not everything is about the money, though it is very powerful and it is very important in life. But just sit back, have fun, enjoy the ride, and try to live, I don't want to say carefree, but like without like regrets, without remorse, and like, try to look at it from a glass half full kind of a look. I mean, that's probably the thing for me. But I mean, we're always going to go through bad experiences. Yep. And what we do with those experiences, I think, is the bigger picture outlook. How can we turn this $10 performance from a junk source setup into a $75 performance as card source RI?
Right.
And then, all right, how can we go from that to, say, however much we made the next show, and then how much you made the next show, and so on and so on.
I'll say that, I'm transparent, completely transparent. Mm-hmm. So I went from making $10 on my first show.
Remember, $10 on the first show, guys. Like, if you don't think you're gonna make any money, like, it's gonna be pretty hard to make less than $10 on a show. Like, so just set up, just do it.
The next show, one table, made $75. Different location.
Yep.
Different location.
Which is good too, because that's a whole group of new people.
Very good, yeah. Came back to the original show where I made $10, and I went home with $1,000 profit that day.
Like, I mean, okay, so I'm gonna have to ask you a whole nother question. What was that? If you had to pinpoint one thing that made you go from $10 to $1,000 profit, what's that one thing?
My display.
Your display.
display. The ease of access to the cards, and having, everything was top loaded, everything was ready to go, everything was, the
The
display
curb appeal
cases,
was nice.
the appeal.
Yeah.
Is every show going to be like that? Absolutely not.
No.
Mike's doing a show on the 26th. We're setting up at that.
Mm-hmm.
And do I expect to make the same amount? No, because you can't go into it expecting that.
Yeah.
I hope I make more.
Hey,
I hope I make the same.
Yeah.
If I make less, am I going to stop? Absolutely not, because I know that is there. It happened once, it'll happen again.
Mm-hmm. And I love to just kind of pull from that is the research that you've done. You looked around. What are these other vendors doing? You took pictures. You did research.
Right.
I mean, here on the channel, I have tons of videos about, opening up your own shop and things like that. And it's like, you have to do research. Like, that is like numero uno, is you gotta, whether it's the area, whether it's, other shops in your area, whether it's like, all right, how can I thrive? What are other people missing? And you're going to find, hey, these other vendors, they're doing good, but they're missing that one thing. So let me apply that one thing. Meanwhile, I'm still going to do the same good things that they're doing because it's a copy and paste business. So research is so, so important, and clear evidence that, your research paid off. Yep. Patience, time, it all paid off, which is awesome.
And now is that good or bad in a way, right? So yes, I got a full-time job. Yes, I work,
you're busting your butt
every day.
Yeah.
So is it fruitful all the time? No, because I'm not doing this all the time. I'm no longer selling on eBay. I'm not selling on the whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I'm not selling on all these different apps that you can sell on.
Like, you could see yourself making more money in this hobby if you were on eBay and whatnot and shows every weekend. However, you're going to have to stop working a full-time job.
Yeah, exactly.
And most people need their full-time job first.
Yes.
Then sports cards.
Right.
So it's like a internal battle.
Right. And for anybody getting into this, use your local resources. Murph's Card Town. Come here.
Oh, it's me.
Use the knowledge that you get from everybody. You know what I mean? But
networking,
also support them.
Oh, thank you.
Support them.
Thank you.
Because they're the ones that are supporting you.
I love that.
I made a comment to Murph one of the first times we've ever met, and I said I will never walk into your shop and not spend at least $1.
And it's not that hard. And like, for me, hearing people, because there's a good group of people that always come here and they don't walk out without buying anything.
Right.
And it could be $1 card, it could be a $30 box, it could be $100. It doesn't matter what it is. But to see them consistently coming to the shop, engaging in conversation, getting to know them, most of them have become good friends of mine at this point, and the support that they give me, it's just, whenever I see them walk in, I don't think about like, oh, here's $70 today. No, I think of, oh, hey, here's Joe, here's the other Joe, your son.
Yeah.
Here's whoever. It's like, all right, hopefully, let's say they're sick. Their son was sick last week. Like, hope their son's feeling better. Like, hopefully their birthday party was pretty good. I want to ask those questions because I want to know how many card shops or people do you know in this hobby or in any hobby, any business care at a personal level? Because, Card Source RI buying from Murph's Card Town, that's a business transaction. But the conversations that me and you have, those are personal conversations. Right. And there needs to be a balance, of course. But the personal aspect of it for me and for you and a lot of other people is so, so strong and so important. Because if we didn't care about each other, you'd pick through the bins, not say a word. What's the best you could do on it? I give you the number, and then see you later.
Right.
But no, we want to sit down. We want to have a talk. We want to kind of catch up. We want to what's new, what's going on, what are you doing for Easter? Da.
Right.
So again,
you know what I mean. I've been to. I'm not going to name any of the shops because
this is a
we don't
safe
slander
space.
people.
Yeah.
We don't slander people because everyone's in this for their own whatever. Excuse me. I've been to shops. And, Card Source RI hoodies, hats, the whole nine. I try and represent this wherever I go. Because I'm trying to build the brand so people see it and they recognize it. They know my face to the brand, right? I've been in card shops wearing this stuff. They're like, oh, what's that?
Oh, is that another shop?
I was like, oh, that's my business. So what are you doing here?
Someone said that to you?
Yeah. And it was kind of like, I'm going to buy supplies or I was going to buy some cards and stuff.
Buy a 4-row at least or something.
Right. And it was like, well, you don't have your own stuff you can buy. And it's like, I'm at your establishment.
I came here for a reason, right?
Trying to buy from you and support you. And you're You're gonna be upset because I'm in the same business as you.
Where it's like,
It's like,
and a lot of people like yourself, they don't have brick and mortars. So how much of a real threat? I mean, maybe on Saturday and Sunday, maybe, but like, all right, on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m., you are no threat. Not just you, but people
Right.
are no threat to me.
Zero.
And to other shops. And I probably have a good idea who you're probably talking about, but obviously safe space. We won't say names or anything. But it's just like, who cares?
But even at that aspect, Murph,
Yeah.
if we would to, even if I did own a brick and mortar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, hey, Joe, you got any of the new Pokemon out right now? I sold out and I got customers that want some.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that I wouldn't sell you at that cost, bud.
But see,
and
but
come and
you're a
give
good
it to you.
person, though.
You know what I mean?
You're a good person.
But that's the way people
But not a lot of
be.
people. You're right. They should be. But are they? No, they'll do anything. Well, I don't say people. Some people will do anything to make a quick buck.
Right.
Or to get ahead. And again, it's hard to find good people, seemingly. And it's not that hard to be a good person.
It is not.
It's just absolutely bananas to me. But I mean, you kind of mentioned earlier, you kind of prefaced somebody new getting into this, whether it was vending, the hobby, or whatever. And I kind of want to touch on that as we wrap up with a few other questions. For someone who might be nervous about setting up at their first show or just going to their first show, what's a piece of advice that you would give them? I mean, you've been through a lot in so little time. You've seen a lot. And I feel like you've had the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. What's something that you could maybe be like, hey, listen, it's going to be okay, but do this and you'll be fine?
Reach out to Murph. Reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us.
Yeah.
Talk to people. Don't be afraid to not know. It's okay to not know.
Yeah.
It is 100% okay to not know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have some help and some guidance that are willing to help you, you will succeed.
Yeah.
Don't try and buy everything all at once. Don't try and buy everything and just go, full tilt all the way through. You will never make it. You'll spend all the money you have and get nowhere. Because you can buy a $500 sports player card right now, whatever the case may be. That person gets hurt. That card drops out of value. It's like the stock market.
It's almost worse than the stock market,
Almost,
honestly.
yeah, 100%.
I mean, the stock market's pretty consistent. Obviously, nowadays, it's a little bit in flux, but, like, typically the stocks traditionally go up.
Right.
But, like, sports cards, I don't know. They don't. And 95% of them go down.
Right.
So, it's tough.
Victor Wembanyama cards, when he was first out, these cards, you almost couldn't touch them.
Nope.
Now they're starting to decline in value.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even because of the injury, too. I mean, obviously, that's a factor. But,
Right.
like, even when he was playing, like, his Prism base cards that were like $100 at one point, they were still like $7
Right.
before injury.
So and that's what you have to plan for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna buy now, sell now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that market's gonna change. I know I have cards that I paid probably lower for that were up in value that I wouldn't move in time, and now they're
Back down.
They're gonna go right back down in value again.
Agreed.
Buy right, sell right.
Yep.
You know?
There's a fine difference between investing and flipping.
Right.
Now, for me, obviously, if you're going to invest, I mean, that may change depending on who you ask, but I think a good year is a good investment window. Put it away, forget about it, revisit it when you're going through your closet. But if anything else than that, you're just flipping and waiting for the right time to sell it.
Right.
Because is there really a right time to sell an investment outside of maybe need, like, I need the cash flow right now because I need tires, whatever the example is. But like, I buy a car today, I bring it to a show, I'm flipping it. I buy a car today, I'm bringing it to Fanatics Fest, I'm flipping it. But it's like, I buy a car today and I want to stash it away in the collection, and it's like, oh, I kind of forgot about this car. I don't like it anymore, but I've let the value hopefully mature a little bit.
Right.
But people don't have patience in this hobby. People don't want to go outside their comfort zone. People don't want to talk to other people. But these are all important things that you need to do. And it's not just a sports card thing. It's a life thing. It's a business thing. It's any hobby thing. You got to go out and talk to people, make connections, get personal, get professional, whatever it may be. Go out and do it. I love the little advice that you gave. And I'm definitely going to ask this question again. In a different way, but to yourself though, if you could go back in time, so far long ago, right, and tell yourself one piece of advice, kind of get a little personal with this if you could. What is that one piece of advice you would tell yourself?
I would probably tell myself, honestly, be afraid.
Be afraid.
Be nervous. Be anxious. Be all of that because you're human.
Yeah.
You're human. At the end of the day, nothing's going to make you comfortable to do something you don't know.
Kind of accept the emotions.
Accept it.
I like
Accept everything. Accept that you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
there's going to be a loss.
Yeah. Especially up front.
I'm still losing money.
People are so afraid to spend money and lose money. It's like, well, you can't spend money. I mean, you can't make money if you don't spend money.
Right.
And it's, again, not just with cards. It's just
part of
any
life.
business. A part of life. If you want a house, you got to put a down payment down. If you want a car, you got to put a down payment on. So it's like,
hey, guess what? I've been in my home for X amount of years. I redid my house. Guess what I have to start doing now? Repairing the things I did because I've been there for so long.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to lose at some point.
Yep.
It's okay to lose. And that is the biggest thing in life that we're like getting away from, even with like youth sports.
yeah.
People are afraid to lose nowadays. You know, don't be afraid to lose. It's okay.
I like to try to look at it as, at least maybe to make it comforting for other people, is in terms of investment. Look at it as an investment.
Yes.
All right, you have $100 in your pocket. You want to try to get as many cards as possible, but you want to try to get the best cards as possible. That's an investment.
Right.
Sure, you're handing out money, you're losing money. But again, if your plan is to just go to sell them, well, you're not just going to walk into a free $100 worth of cards. I mean, any of us would. We absolutely would do it. But you got to spend money to make money, and you're going to have to lose here and there. Hopefully, you win more than you lose. But, I mean, hey, for every 10 deal, every 8 deals you're winning, you might lose 2. Maybe it's 7-3. Maybe it's 9-1. Whatever the ratio is, don't be afraid to lose, because it could really derail you pretty quickly.
Exactly.
But it's your mental and emotional fortitude that'll push you through. You could have easily gave up after the $10.
100%.
And you're like, listen, I'm into it for a few $100s, $1,000, whatever it may be. That's fine. I'll make that back, in a week or 2 of work. We're done here. But no, you're like, all right, listen, let's glass half full. And you went forward and you went to $75 and then $1,000.
Right.
And you kept building and growing, and that's what it's all about.
You don't need a ton of money to get into this hobby either.
I say that all the time.
There was, I think you said it. I think you were actually one of the ones that said it to me in the beginning. So you can take a bunch of like smaller cards and turn it into a trade.
Yeah.
Trade it into a bigger card.
I have so many videos on the channel about how to take, you can start a small business of sports cards with $500.
Yes.
You can take say you had $200. I forget what the numbers were on the video, but like, let's say you bought cards for $200, but now they're worth $100. How can you take that $100 worth of cards and turn it back into $200?
Right.
About trading, about partial sale and selling and trading. Grading is also an aspect too that you could do. There's so many different ways to kind of go about it.
Yeah.
And it's really not hard. It's not thinking outside the box. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like, I'm not thinking outside the box either with it. But yeah, what was it again? Don't be afraid. That was the advice you'd give to yourself.
Don't be afraid. You're gonna take a loss.
Yeah.
Be okay with the loss too.
Yeah.
Know that a loss is part of this.
Yes. Yes.
You are never gonna always win.
Yeah. I think that's the importance of it, because so many people, want to do this. They want to do that. They want to open an Etsy page. They want to do, sell that. They want to sell cards or make something. It's like, you're going to have to lose. And honestly, that upfront loss, you can look at it as an investment. I mean, I invested a few $1,000s initially starting Murph's Card Town. Before I opened the doors, I was thousands of dollars in the hole. That's a loss. That's an investment as well. And then it takes time and so on and so on. Your upfront cost was whatever. That's a huge loss. And it's slowly. So it's
also,
I like that.
Focus on one thing at a time. Don't try and do a million different things all at once.
Kind of like what you were
I was doing in the beginning.
So what's your one focus now? Is it just cards?
Yeah, cards. Like, I mean, I've all my trials and tribulations we've talked about.
Yeah.
I saw a market where there's a person that makes custom cards.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take like a scene or whatever. They'll make like an art card of it, and they'll make a custom card and sell it for tons of money. I tried doing that. They came out cool looking, but in the reality, is it something that somebody wants? It's a niche market.
It's very niche.
So you're not going to get anywhere with that. I tried doing the eBay, and I tried doing, shows and this and that and Facebook Marketplace and all too much.
Mm-hmm.
Put your energy and your focus into one thing to start and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
If you get good with that one thing, guess what? Put one more thing on your plate.
Yeah.
Don't be greedy. Just get to where you need to go by taking those steps. You're not going to jump up 12 steps to get in your house. You're going to take a step at a time, or maybe 2 steps at a time.
Especially at our age.
Right, especially at our age. But It's a true fact, like
Yeah.
don't bite off more than you can chew,
Amen.
because then you're gonna fail,
Yep.
and you're gonna fail to the point where you're not gonna enjoy this, and you're gonna drop out of the hobby, and we're gonna lose another good person in the hobby.
I've seen too many people fall out because they've taken too many losses. It's like, well, you didn't have to take too many losses. But, like, let's see what was that one thing or maybe two things that you did on how we got here.
Right.
All right, you bought a $1,000 card at the peak of its market, and now it's worth $200.
Yeah.
That's a pretty, that's a good red flag right there. But no, I agree with what you said there. I mean, that's extremely important. And to wrap it up, where do you see yourself? Card Source RI, you and your son, say a year from now. I'd love to get all of the guests from Early Morning Setup back on, like a year from when I had them on. So this time next year, when you sit down and we do this episode again, where do you see Card Source RI?
Well, we kind of talked about a couple little things, and you said to save it.
Yes. Yeah, so I have no idea. So he was going to tell me off camera. I have no idea. So my reaction will be truly authentic. I'm ready.
So before the year is up, Card Source RI will be doing its own show. We're going to set up a show.
That's
and
exciting.
It's going to be Card Source Live.
Ooh.
Is the name of the show.
I like that.
Me and my family, we thought it was the right move for Card Source. We're not going to do a brick and mortar anytime soon. So
Thank you.
figured, yes, sir. We figured that we would do a show.
Okay.
We've done, a few shows already. Kind of got the logistics down of, how to set up the show. How many vendors would be proper.
Say Mikey can tell you all about that with the
yeah.
tables.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope I have the same support that I feel like I've given to the hobby from other vendors. I'm going to reach out to everybody in the circle and see if they want to contact people, see if they want to buy tables and stuff like that. But keep a lookout.
Yeah.
Hell
yeah.
On our social media pages and flyers, everything else. We'll be posting it and sending it out when I figure out a venue.
Yeah.
We have a couple different venues we're looking at right now. I just want to pick the right one for our brand.
Yeah. So I know there's maybe not a lot of details to share because we don't have a venue yet, but do you have like a ETA of like when you're trying to have this show? Summer, fall?
I would say.
I know this question was kind of proposed as like, hey, next year thing.
Yeah.
It seems like you kind of want to get this ball rolling a little sooner than that.
It'll be before the end of this year.
Yep.
I would say probably towards end of summer. Is when we're looking to do something. Yeah, like probably before football season really kicks off and everything else. Future wise, that's pretty much our biggest plans for the future is and we're gonna probably do it quarterly.
Okay.
We're gonna try and do it every quarter.
How big do you think? Like a VFW kind of show?
Yeah, probably like 30-40 vendors is what I'm hoping on.
Yeah.
I want to my wife actually wants it to go a little bigger. We're probably going to see if we can get some food trucks there and make like a thing out of it.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get a good day. We can have all the stuff, and we're going to do a raffle. I'm pretty prominent. A lot of this business hobby that we got into it was due to me and my son doing this. So this ties into the raffle. The raffle, we're going to probably do a 50-50 raffle, and all the proceeds from our end on the 50-50 raffle are going to go to a charity.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
We want to give back as much as we can to the community. So we're going to do some sort of children's charity.
Yeah. That's awesome.
With a raffle.
That's awesome. How excited is your son about possibly running a show?
Ecstatic.
Really?
Yeah. He's
awesome.
He's over the moon. I don't know if we are physically going to set up at the show and sell, because I want to be there for my vendors.
Yeah.
Especially if it's my first show. I'm not doing it to make a ton of money on my end on the first one. I want to really give it the Card Source experience.
Yeah. It's always tough because I hear a lot of people who will set up at their own shows, and it's like, well, obviously your cost is going to be zero to set up because you're not going to charge yourself.
Right.
But like, all right, well, that's an extra $40 you could have had towards the space or the bottom line or whatever it may be. So but also, the show is going to be advertising card source. The table could be doing that as well. You could be moving stuff. You could be just a whole part of it. So there's like pros and cons to it.
Right.
I mean, I've always wanted to run my own show, but it's just like, I'm here all the time. It's so time consuming. Da 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 da. I mean, there's so many excuses. But like, if I was to set up my own show, would I be vending? I have no idea. Yeah. I mean, if I had an empty table that I just cannot fill, probably. But like, if I got 40 people lined up looking for a table, take them, have them.
And don't get me wrong, likewise, if I have a table that I can't fill and I have somebody that can run the table for me, I don't want to dedicate my time to selling and making money off of a table that I could potentially give to another vendor.
Yeah. Because they'll appreciate, like, hey, listen, you're right next to this open table. Like, feel free, just take it. You two, you can take it together. You just go half on it, and they can be like, wow, 4 extra feet, 2 extra, whatever. Like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely, thank you. And that'll stick with them. Allow them to space out, spread their wings, and probably let them do better.
Right.
So that's definitely gonna stick with them. But those were all the questions that I had. But I will give you the floor if you want to kind of talk about anything maybe we didn't discuss, or maybe just kind of mention something that you want to kind of just get off your chest about anything and everything. So I'll give you the floor.
I mean, honestly, we kind of went over pretty much my trials, tribulations, ups, downs, highs, lows, whatever you want to call them. I really don't have too much. I just want to say, if this is something you're passionate about, do it. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Figure it out. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be stressful. You're going to have doubts. You're going to have worries. You're going to have everything else.
You're going to lose.
You're going to definitely lose.
I just wrote that down. Yeah, you're going to lose.
But at the end of the day, I can't stress this fact enough. Be kind to the person that's helping you. Don't take advantage of them. Reach out to them whenever you can. Use social media to your advantage if you can. The YouTube videos. Murph has a ton of content to get you going. Call people, email them. A lot of people nowadays don't like to talk on the phone. I'm old school. I talk on the phone. Everyone likes to text. Shoot a text out.
Yeah.
Shoot an email to somebody. Ask the questions and don't feel dumb. There is not a dumb question. Just ask. Even if you've been doing this for years, so you've been collecting since you were a kid, guess what? That's great. You might not be current with what's going on. Ask the question, what's going on nowadays? How do I get going?
Yeah.
What's my best route to go?
Joe that I had, the first Joe that I had on the debut episode, he had his own shop for like 3 years, like early 2010s, and like I've been open for almost 4 years, and I'm still asking him, certain questions.
Yeah.
And times are drastically different from the hobby today to then, but just the logistics, the business side, the behind closed doors aspects are still fairly similar. So it's like, hey, I'll ask him, hey Joe, what'd you do in this situation or this time of year when it got slower, or how do you keep up with the demand during the holidays? I'm always finding myself asking him questions, and asking questions, whether it's a dumb question or a question you may already know the answer to, but you just kind of want reassurance, or a question you have absolutely no idea about. Any kind of question is a good question, and I could not agree more with that.
Right. And I mean, lastly, doesn't have to be $1 million investment.
Nope.
It does not.
Nope.
Start off small. It'll grow.
Yep.
It might take 10, 15 years to grow to something good. That's okay. As long as you're not banking on this being your full-time thing and you're not going to put the work in.
Yeah.
If you don't put the work in, you're not going to get anywhere.
Growth is so important. Everybody loves the $1,000 cards, the $10,000 cards, but not everyone's gonna buy them. How many people are gonna buy them? First of all, but like they're nice to look at. Like, oh wow, cool, Joey, look at that card. Like, look how cool that is. Like, but that's it. That's as far as it goes. So like my thing is like I love telling this to people. I might have told you too before. I look back at the shop when I first opened 4 years ago. I had J.K. Dobbins score rookie cards. Him in his collegiate jersey. I couldn't even tell you where he went to college. Ohio State, and those were in my showcase for $5. Those kind of cards. And it's just like, if I can go from there to having hundreds and $1,000s worth of cards in the showcase without this huge investment from, a business partner, or without this huge loan from the bank. And it's just been 4 years, and granted, it's been a very long 4 years, but still, it takes time to grow. And obviously, I'm in a different position than a lot of other people, but like time, patience, growth, development, it all can correlate together if you put in the work.
And figure out a dollar amount that's comfortable for you if you're getting into this as a business or as a hobby. If it's $100, it's $100. If it's $500, it's $500. 1,000, whatever the dollar amount is.
Yep.
Take that dollar amount, and if you make money on that dollar amount, pay that money back to you until it's paid off. Don't spend it frivolously on something that has nothing to do with this hobby or business. Okay? Don't say, oh, I can go buy, a new gold chain because I made, $800 at this show.
Yep.
No, take that $800 and pay yourself back.
Yep. Reinvest it.
Yep. Whether it's paying your initial cost back, whether it's reinvesting to buy more, don't just go and spend.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah.
If you're serious about this, be serious about it and treat it like a business.
The number one rule that I always go by here on the first of the month seemingly is I take all the extra cash flow, I pay the bills first here.
Yep.
I pay the mortgage, the electric, the Wi-Fi, and then everything that's left goes right back into the shop.
Yep.
Of course, I have to pay myself, being self-employed, but besides that, it all goes right back into it. I'm not taking anything out to go do this or go do that. It has to get funneled right back in. That's how you help supply the growth. But Joe, thank you so much. This has been absolute pleasure. This is so fun. Absolutely, man. This has been awesome. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode of Early Morning Setup, a card show podcast. I will put your Instagram, right? You got Instagram?
Yep.
I'll put that in the description below for you guys to go check. Card Source RI, right here, Card Source, Rhode Island. Go check them out. They will be at local shows. They're going to be set up, and they're going to be continuing to grow and get bigger and better. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Please smash the thumbs up button, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new or haven't. Check out the channel membership program. That will do it for this video. I'm going to put the next video over your face because you're just on that side of the camera. Click on that video over there if you enjoyed this one because I think you'll enjoy that one as well. I'll check you guys out in the next one. See ya.